Welcome to the Becoming Redefined podcast. I'm your host, Rachel. I'm so glad you're here. We are on episode 4. We are rocking and rolling. We launch a new episode every Tuesday. So if you are new here, make sure that you subscribe to the podcast. I'm somebody who needs reminders for podcasts that I like, so I always put the reminders on if that's something that you need and you don't want to miss when we launch a new episode. Turn the reminders on. And I'm just so glad to be here. I know you guys are really enjoying the podcast, and we've only been doing this. Like I said, this is episode 4 now, but we have a lot of exciting things in the works and exciting topics to bring to you guys. Really, the whole theme of this podcast is building your dream life, and we are constantly defining and redefining our life, whether we have awareness around that or not. And I've gone through some pretty incredible, hard, but incredible experiences the past few years, and it's just helping me learn how to continuously choose the life that I want to live and align towards those things. And, we're always going to be building things. We're always going to be working on, X, Y, Z, whatever. And there's so many different experiences and opportunities and things we can take from the things that we're going through to continue to evolve through our life. I talk about the project that I was working on the past 4 years, and building that was something that I thought I was going to do. Like, okay, if I had hit the end of my life, that accomplishment was something that I would have done at the end of my life. And so, having done that, in my 20s, although it ended differently than I thought, although that experience, like it grew so quickly, so fast, and I got all that experience, I was like, oh my gosh, wait, there's so much more to life. And so we are always getting to just build our dream life and grow and evolve from every experience we have. So that is the theme of this podcast. We'll have different guests and things like that. I know you guys were here for episode 2. I brought my friend Alex on, who we are doing acting together. We actually have a shoot tomorrow, which is so fun. We booked it together, but I'm getting off a tangent. Anyway, today's episode is going to really be diving into identity and what happens when your identity falls apart, because that's what happened to me in January. And I want to share this because we go through this, people go through this different phases of life, and I'm really big on perspective and how you look at things can decide what, like, how you grow and evolve from certain situations. And, things happen to us that maybe aren't positive, but you can choose to take the positives from it and grow and evolve. And so, although what happened in January for me, or my career completely ended and I had to start over, was not fun, was not positive in, one sense. I chose to see it as a positive, and I chose to take it head on and take all the lessons and opportunities. And what happened after is really eye-opening for me. So in January, like I mentioned, company that I had been working with for 4 years, which I ultimately helped start, ended. And I've talked about this already. I'm not going to go into details. But my identity was so wrapped into that I felt so disconnected to who I was. I felt lost. I just confused, because when you are building something for years and you put your identity to that and then it's gone, you have this moment of what the hell? Like, what am I doing? Where do I go? What do I do? And so that was one realization. And the realization number 2 was I love to distract myself. I am somebody who loves to just be positive. I'm the everything's fine girl. And I put that in quotes because I don't want to identify with that, but that's really what I was doing the past few years. Just everything's fine. I'm good. Everything's fine. And a lot of times things are, but for me, I also avoid negative emotions and feelings. Like, I feel like I can carry a lot and handle a lot, which is good, but also it's a distraction from feeling. And the absolute chaos of the past few years for me, there was a lot of things that I don't think I allowed myself to truly feel and process, which were just under the surface. And so when you have something come to an end and then you have stillness, you then have to feel. And I had to feel a lot in that stillness post January, which was very uncomfortable. I think I went through all the different stages of grief and emotion. And I felt like my identity was just lost. And I had to go figure out like what do I want to do with my life now? I have acting, I have modeling, but I'm also just like an entrepreneur at heart. I need to be building and creating and all of that. And so I didn't have a project that I was working on. So the stillness was really loud in the sense that it brought up all the things that I had been shoving under the rug for years. And, you know, there was nothing to distract me to not feel that. And so I had to go and feel that I'm still like things are still coming up, but I'm allowing myself more time and space to have more awareness around thoughts, feelings, and emotions. And I want to bring up some of the things that I had awareness around from that. Like the biggest thing that I had a realization aha moment was one, I use work as a distraction. And I think a lot of us do this. You know, we love to stay busy, and I think that's a good thing. I really do. Like I don't care that I'm love to be, working on things and building things. I have a lot of things that I'm working on. I don't want to pick just one thing. I love to be busy. But for me, I was also using it as a direct distraction at one point, which got to be a little crazy, and that was hard. So, when you have a lot happen and you're not allowing yourself to feel it, you can become kind of emotionless. And it's actually funny with acting, this comes out a lot to where I'm just so like emotionally stable that my coach is like, okay, that's good to be in life, but we need more. We need you to get to like a certain place. And I'm like, well, I'm good. And it's like, well, I'll use an example of I have a scene right now doing acting, and I have a little like gun to my head, and it's like a scary moment. And my coach is like, okay, like what would you do if this happened? And I'm like, I'd beat their ass. And he's like, okay, no, it's like life or death. Like you can't, they have a gun to your head. And so I'm like, my emotion's just not there. And so that's really hard to like come through in a scene. And so I'm learning how to let my emotion out. So I was using work and the things I was building as a distraction from this feeling. And so there's a lot of like pent up feeling that I'm slowly releasing. So that was one realization. Work is a distraction, allowing me to not feel I was using all the noise in my life to just be a mask. And so now things, when they got quiet, I had to start feeling those things. So I had a lot of awareness around the stuff that I maybe wasn't letting myself feel or hear. The second big realization is that I tie my worthiness to the success of the company that I'm building or creating or the project that I'm working on. And specifically, dollar amount, money, how much money I am bringing in to the company or to the people that I'm working with. For example, my previous like investors, how much money I was bringing in, like I tied my worth to that. And whether, they made me feel like that or not, I'm still trying to unpack like where that comes from for me. It's probably a mix of just like childhood and also just, environment with work and things like that. But I definitely tie my value to the success of like how much money I'm bringing in. And the past 4 years, that was so loud and so apparent in my life. I remember my first therapy appointment. I talked about how I just felt unworthy and not valuable to someone that I was working with. And I just never felt good enough. And that was something like deep rooted. So it was just like this cycle of every month because you run your business on like a 30-day profit and loss. And so with the situation I was in, um, we didn't have any monthly recurring. It was all paid in fulls. And so every 30 days I was going through this like worth cycle of okay, the first of the month, it is at zero. Race to get till we feel worthy again. Okay, the end of the month, did you beat last month? Okay, amazing. You can get a little bit of love. You can feel you're worthy now. Okay, first of the month again, starting over. It's like this whole cycle, and I think like just with who I am, it brought up a lot of like my feeling of worthiness and all of that. And so it was a very interesting place. And so that paired with me then tying my identity to this company and then not allowing myself to feel feelings. You can just have like 4 years of heavy masculine, worthy, unworthy cycle. And it was just completely crazy. And so when I had time of stillness, that shit started coming up. coming up more than ever. And I'm still working through that now. And as I have now started my own company, that is pretty loud. And my company is doing well. It's taking off. We got up and running so quickly, but I'm still dealing with that remnants of like worthiness and all of that that I'm having to check. But now I can become more aware of it and I can let myself feel it and figure out like what stories I'm telling myself and decide what stories I want to then tell myself from that awareness and build my dream life from those things. And I don't have to just take any story that I subconsciously tell myself and make that how I live my life. I can decide what I want that to be, but it starts with that awareness, which is something really exciting that I'm having now. I also notice this comes up for me in the acting world too. In the acting world, if you're listening to this and you're an actor, you are going to relate to this, but it's very up and down. You're gonna have, a month, 2 month, whatever. It could the time there's no exact timeline of maybe not booking anything, maybe not even getting the auditions that you want or whatever. And then you might have a month where you book multiple projects. You're like, oh my gosh, I'm on fire. That dry spell's gone. And it's just like uh hills and valleys, hills and valleys. And so it's very easy to get in your head and not feel good about yourself when you're not booking. And you might have a high of, oh my gosh, I'm booking, I'm feeling amazing. And you might have time where I feel like, what am I doing? I'm not worthy to book my dream role, all of that stuff. And I've talked to my coach about this before, and he's like, it's water off a duck's back. Like this is very normal. And I mean, you could talk to like any actor ever, even if they're well known, like they go through times where they're not booking. Also, lives. And pairing acting with all the craziness that I've been through with the past, I mean, really, I mean, I've been acting for 2 years, but the whole time I've been acting, it's very up and down with career. And so my career was coming first. And then in January, when I didn't have a career anymore, acting definitely took a back seat because I had to figure out what the F I wanted to do with my life. And so there was some quietness when it came to bookings. And so I felt maybe not worthy as an actor. And now that I've started putting that time and energy back into auditioning and, submitting for projects, all that, bookings are coming through again. And I'm like, wait, I feel great again. But I do have that awareness around it. And the biggest thing that I have come to realize is that when you're having those moments of negative emotion or you're having those moments of unworthiness, do not sit completely still. Like, don't just like sulk. And that's different from allowing yourself to feel and have that stillness, but you still need to make a movement towards the things you want. So, back to the acting thing, for example. If I'm feeling not worthy as an actor, I'm not going to stop taking my acting classes. I'm not going to stop working on muscle. I'm not going to stop submitting myself for projects. I'm not going to stop auditioning. Even though the past like 6 months, I definitely slowed things down. I still went to all my classes and I was still doing some auditions, just maybe not to the amount that I was previously, but I was still working the muscle. I didn't stop making movement because I know movement is going to help me build confidence. And so you want to make sure that you are not just sitting and sulking and playing victim. Like there is a difference between allowing yourself to feel and maybe process things that have happened versus looking at the all the negatives and just sulking and be like, oh, poor me, like this isn't for me. Like that would be a story you'd be telling yourself. And you can choose to believe that one, like if I wanted to be like, oh, I haven't booked a role in 6 months, I'm not an actor. Like, no, I'm not. Like that's a story. And I can choose to believe that one. Or I can not choose to believe that and be like, no, I am an actor because I am an actor. I go to my acting classes every week and I submit for projects and I'm gonna book another project. I don't know when, but I will. That's another story. So being able to have awareness around the stories you're telling yourself through these hard times and then choosing which story you want to believe. But again, you have to have awareness around the stories that you're telling yourself. And the more you become aware, the more you'll see these. And I literally like noticing these things myself as we go through this whole journey. And that's why I'm sharing this because it's like an active thing that I'm working through myself, which is really cool, but also like I don't have this figured out. It's just this is where we're at right now in this journey. I will say talking, like talk journaling, I love, videos, long form content. That's really a great space for me to like feel my feels. And having this space helps me then process and have more awareness, and then I can make the movement around it. So, I'm talking a lot about allowing yourself to feel. So for me, I'm trying to figure out which ways in the past did I keep myself distracted to not feel, and how can I fix that moving forward? Because the story that I was telling myself was, oh, I'm good. I'm good all the time. I don't really need, I don't have anything to work through, but it's like I just wasn't challenging myself. And so I'm figuring out which ways I can allow myself to figure out how do I truly feel. So this podcasting, a great way. My longer form videos that I make on TikTok, another great way. I also journal now. Got a nice little journal out here. This is a lot of my podcast notes, but what we talk about here is like a lot of real life stuff. So it goes hand in hand with that. So then I can feel the feels, have awareness, get clarity, and make movement. And really, I think movement comes before clarity. You got to make movement, then you'll get clarity. So, really, the thing that I want everyone to take away from this episode is redefining your life starts with redefining the stories we tell ourselves. And there may be stories that you tell yourself that you were completely happy with that you want to keep. But I promise you, there's probably a lot of stories that you were subconsciously telling yourself that you do not want to dictate your life. Because it's like, are we really living our life, or are we letting the stories we tell ourselves be how we live? So get back into that driver's seat and redefine your life by becoming aware of stories that you're telling yourself, and decide, do you want to tell them anymore that way, or do you want to rewrite them? And you have the option to do that, because we are always creating our life from the stories we tell ourselves. And like I had mentioned in a previous podcast, I told myself in college, like my first year of college, I wanted to be a nurse. Okay, cool. Like I loved that. Who, for the nurses out there, so much respect. Like I literally I failed human anatomy like 3 times. Like that's hard. So much respect. But deep down, I did not want to be a nurse. I don't know why I was going to choose that. I think it's because my boyfriend at the time wanted to be a nurse and I was just following him. So it's like that was a story that I was telling myself, but I just was like subconsciously doing. And once I then checked in with myself and figured out, okay, what does Rachel actually wanted to do? I was able to transform my life and choose a path and a journey that I actually wanted, which ended up being business and entrepreneurship and just all of that. So it's been awesome. Even though it's been hard as fuck, and a lot of the stuff that we're talking about here have come from the journey that I've chosen to take of helping build businesses. And this time I'm finally doing it on my own, finally have my wings, but there's a lot of stories within that I'm constantly having to check. So once we are aware, we get a choice. We get a choice to decide what we want to believe and what we want to tell ourselves moving forward. And so I think it's really cool that we get to just craft our life. You get to decide how that looks and feels. And a lot of times and I mentioned this last time, a lot of times we are not in the driver's seat of our life because we don't even realize it. So this is just like one big thing that I have come to realize over the past few months of just having time to sit and having like overall complete identity crisis, identity shift. And I wanted to share that with you guys because I know that a lot of people are struggling with this, and it could be, so many different areas, in your corporate job, there could be things in your life that you are going through that you're not really sure like what to do. And so I really think that talking about our identity and the stories we tell ourselves just is a really great way to just start becoming more aware of that in our own life. I don't know if you guys can see, we have a new background. I'm actually on my porch. My whole mentality is let the episodes get 1% better every time. And so, like last time we recorded, I had my camera set up with the mics and I had my Zoom set up without a mic because I wanted to just have like a backup with the Zoom. The camera got the video, but it didn't get the audio. There was literally no sound. So I had to get the audio from Zoom, which wasn't with the mic. And this time I'm like, okay, let's get the camera footage with the sound as well. So let's see if I did it right this time. I am not a very technological savvy person, and that's a story I've told myself for a long time, but I'm becoming one because I'm putting the reps. And I get better every time. It's that 1% better mentality. And yeah, I don't have to be good at techie stuff. Like, I really don't have to. Like, we'll definitely have a producer at some point, but it's kind of a fun journey. And it's another way that I'm like becoming more aware of what stories I tell myself. And I think it's cool to just learn new skills. And so I'm definitely learning how to produce a podcast. And it gets better every time. I'm really proud of myself for that. So, what areas in your life can you get 1% better? What area in your life can you become aware of a story that maybe you're telling yourself that you are unaware of right now? And do you want to keep that story or not? I don't know. It's up to you to decide. Have the best week. Bye.